And now it's time for my first attempt at describing the basic function of the Death Star, and then in turn, why does Darth Vader wear the kind of suit that he does exactly? So yes, according to the story, Darth Vader got himself into quite a pickle with his health, so he needed some form of life support system. You could argue, well, but then he was planning to do quite a bit of battle. I mean, he's a battle warlord, so maybe that's enough for him to get the suit that he has. Maybe they're in space. But more importantly, see, the thing is probably even in the Star Wars universe, you know, Darth Vader only did battle like 5 times in the whole series. It's not like he went around having hand-to-hand combat with everybody. It was just, you know, all the battles in the world are the same, and all the battles in the galaxy are going to be the same. They're really big things, and the people who really get into the hand-to-hand combat are never going to be the ones who prepared for it. There will always be a special forces, but Darth Vader is probably not going to be the one going in and taking all the bullets. And, you know, managing a battlefield is going to be a more important task. He'll be busy with command and control if he's really such an important player. He's not going to be available to be, you know, manning the turret, whatever. And then weapons of battle are so much more capable in Star Wars. You know, Vader's suit isn't going to protect him from weapons that can destroy ships in space. These heavy armaments, these heavy laser cannons, a direct blast from some kind of heavy laser cannon is going to destroy everything, man. It's going to revert everything down into a more simple form of matter. So, I have a tendency to think that Vader's suit and the Stormtroopers' suits are something different. So back to the Death Star. The Death Star, you know, in the movie, dramatized, you know, even movies are still like, well, it's dramatized. The Death Star was created to be a giant gun. So, here's my take. Here's what really happened. The consumption of energy in the normal world, in the building, in a person's day-to-day life here on Earth, the species, whatever species is consuming the energy, is going to stand to benefit from getting more of their energy. So they're always going to try to be improving their energy infrastructure. So one thing that is a little bit elusive for us in the present day, but is developing now, it's getting to be a big deal, is waste energy recovery, waste heat recovery, waste radiation recovery, probably a little farther out in the future on the radiation, but waste heat recovery basically is going to run like an air conditioner, where the space where the energy consumption is conducted has energy in the form of heat, because all of the energy that's used in the space is neither created nor destroyed. So the energy enters the space, it performs the work, and then it has to dissipate. So the energy becomes heat, which needs to be vented, or even without any electronics at all, just a physical machine, it does create electromagnetic radiation from the movement and friction of metals and stuff like that. So some energy converts into electromagnetic radiation during the processes that we use energy in for. Even your toaster, not all of the energy that goes through the plug into the toaster becomes waste heat that is now just floating away from the toaster. Some of it really does it becomes light, and some of it becomes electromagnetic spectrum radiation, covering basically the whole spectrum, but some portions of the spectrum will certainly have higher amplitude of waste energy coming from the toaster. And if you're running your air conditioner in your house, the heat coming off of the toaster is going to be passed through the cooling coil of the air conditioner, absorbed into the air conditioner, and transferred to the coil that is shedding the heat out of the building, or out of the space. So a waste heat recovery system attempts to convert some of that heat that's coming out of the air conditioner or other waste collection system that basically works exactly like an air conditioner into electricity again. So if you're running your toaster in your kitchen and your air conditioner is collecting the heat, converting it to electricity and powering the house, then the toaster energy can recycle back to the toaster and run the toaster again. So it works already. There's plenty of attempts at making an efficient, effective machine in basically every setting, in dwellings and industrial applications and in commercial applications and in automobile applications and any kind of machinery application or any kind of energy use application. There's been some attempt at recovering that energy. Basically the one that works right away is power production. So the power plant, every power plant inherently works by recycling the waste energy. And it's a dramatic increase in that situation because of power production as a result of the waste heat recovery systems used in the power plant. Just because of the magnitude of the energy that's released in that process. Most processes do not have the magnitude of energy released that a fuel-burning power plant does. So the Death Star is going to be round fundamentally because that's what's going to be the most effective waste heat recovery system's shape. It's going to be gigantic because long wave radiation and also just heat. One of the problems with waste energy recovery in most buildings is that a lot of the energy dissipates by converting through all of the different forms. It can be heat in the air in your room, and produce long-wave radiation. So all of the forms of energy manage to dissipate out of the building and away from the small waste heat recovery machine before they can really be collected. So in a shopping mall, for example, because the energy has to travel from one room to the next room to the next room before it can really escape the building, if you use more of your energy towards the center of the building, then there's more opportunities to recover that energy back into the system. So the Death Star will have most of its heavy-duty industrial processes in the center, and then by the time the energy dissipates away from the recovery system to where that amount of energy isn't going to dissipate so much, it's still inside of the Death Star and available for another form of recovery. And the Death Star, by being its size and its shape, is able to be a virtually perfectly efficient waste energy recovery system. So if you made it 3 times bigger, then it doesn't have to be so perfectly engineered. So the logic here is that the original Death Star would have been about as small as it could have possibly been because of the sheer magnitude of the size of the machine that we're talking about building here. They would have tried to absolutely minimize the size that kind of power core could possibly be. So that power core, in order to function, had the absolute minimum size requirement of the first Death Star, which is why there was a shaft that went directly from the outside of the ship to the inside of the power core, because as it was the absolute bare minimum size that it could be, it needed to have some high efficiency processes, high powered processes going on, and it needed to be able to cycle power basically all the way outside of the Death Star, or all the way inside of the Death Star. Anyways, the energy reaction of the core needed to have that kind of shaped chamber connected to it in order to function at all. The reason why they were able to overlook this engineering in the second Death Star was because it was so much bigger that they could provide enough space for the power core to have that kind of chamber without making that space accessible to the skin of the ship, by the skin of the ship. So, that was a real ramble, and I didn't really get in there about the suits. But anyways, that is some important commentary.